Welcome back to my channel. My name is Jenny and this is Nurturing Legacy. Today we're going to talk about homeschool with chronic illness and what that's like for us and how we do it. It's kind of talking about what works for our family. So it's really important to find what works for you, and generally in the homeschool community, parents are always trying to find like the next best curriculum because we love our kids and we care about our kids and we want them to have the best education that we can provide. And so we're always thinking about like what next year is going to be like. So this is the end of the school year for us, and I think it is for most people. Even if you do year-round teaching, it kind of starts in the fall for most families, and then some families start in January. But I figured with the school year kind of wrapping up for us and for most people, we would do a little bit of discussion about the curriculum that we use. So we have used in the past, before I got sick, we have used all kinds of curriculums. We started with Abeka originally because that was honestly just all I knew. It was what most of the people that I knew who were doing homeschool, it's what they used. I liked that it had kind of like, it's scripted almost, like you just read this and do the things, right? It ended up not really being what we wanted to stick with. It kind of felt too rigid to me. I didn't love some of the ideas that were in there, just personally. So we ended up switching at that point to my father's world. I really liked it a lot, actually. I loved how it was very hands-on. It was Charlotte Mason. It was really our first taste of Charlotte Mason and what that educational style was like, and I really loved it. And that's probably what I would have stuck with. But we ended up trying the K-12 program. We did not love that. I was babysitting at the time, so we were trying to think of ways to take a little bit off of my plate. I was still well and healthy at that time, but we just were like, my husband just wanted to take some off. He didn't want there to be so much pressure. So we decided to try the K-12 program, which is, if you aren't familiar with it, it's the kind of like, it's like public schooling, homeschool. It's virtual school, but they have teachers and all of that. It's kind of like during quarantine times, how all of the schools were virtual. So we did not love that though. We loved most of her teachers. We loved her getting to like kind of hang out with friends on there and everything. But it was definitely too rigid, meaning it kind of took away all of the good of homeschool as for our family. So what we really love about homeschool is the flexibility. So we can make doctor's appointments and field trips and family vacations and family visiting times and stuff like that during any time. So we can, sometimes when family visits, we're still doing school, and sometimes we don't. And sometimes we've gone, we've traveled to different places and took school with us. So sometimes it's the flexibility of you being in charge of when you do school and when you don't do school, rather than being kind of restrained to whatever the school system's schedule is. So it's really nice being able to make a doctor's appointment in the middle of the day and not having to wait until school's over, stuff like that. So we were a little shocked by like how we were still doing homeschool, but we were restrained to this schedule and stuff like that. So we didn't really love that. And that's really probably the biggest thing that I didn't super love. But towards the end of our time with that, my daughter she hated it. She had begun to hate school. And that was not okay for me. So we switched and we took her out and kind of went back to our homeschool. And we tried Easy Peasy, which is great. I'll link it below if I can. But so Easy Peasy is all free and it's all online. It is a missionary family who created this for, I think it was for their own kids originally, and then like for the other, like the schools that they were helping set up and stuff, and then just offered it for anyone that wanted to use it. And the really nice thing about it, other than obviously that it's free and online, is that it kind of is at your own pace. Like you just, it's all just there. You just click on the next link each day and it starts over every day with, bringing you to the next link that you need for that class for that day. So it's really good. It's nice. My kids just didn't really love it. Sometimes there were some things in it that really we do not agree with the statements that were being made or in the way that they were saying it. But even in that, the positive of that is that it really opened up for discussion with our kids and us of like, they'd be like, this is what this said. And we'd be like, what? And so we'd go back and we'd read it and so we'd just have discussion. So it still worked out really well for us. It's nothing really like theological that would make you like not use it. But it was just things that like we don't really agree with in the way that they presented it sometimes. So so we ended up, since they weren't loving it, we ended up switching. So it wasn't really that these things were so wild or anything. We quit using it only because our kids weren't really liking it, and I didn't really like how much they were on a screen. So we were looking for something else. In that time, because I got sick over the summer, so we were not doing school at the time that I got sick. After I got home from the hospital and we were kind of trying to just figure out what just happened and what life is like now and everything. And I knew that I still wanted the kids to be able to homeschool, but I wasn't really sure how I was going to do that. And one of my friends had posted just some pictures on their Instagram talking about their homeschool, and it just was so beautiful. Like, everything was just, I don't know how else to say it. It was just beautiful, like literally beautiful. It was watercolor, like artistic. It was so pretty, and it seemed like this kind of like picture perfect homeschool, you know? And so it piqued my interest because of the beauty of it, literally. And so I asked her what it was, and then I went and found the website, and saw that they had a free app, and I could get like free samples of lessons in the curriculum and everything. And we decided that we were going to try it, and we have absolutely fallen in love with this curriculum. It is Gather Round. It's Rebecca Spooner is the creator of it, and we love it so much. It includes everything except for math, except for I think their preschool, like they have a preschool level that is, I don't remember what it's called. It doesn't apply to us, so I don't really know a lot about it, but I think that their preschool one or their like ready to read one or something, I think it does include math. But the rest of it is everything except for math. You can always add to it if you want, but we loved how it was so simple. The concept of Gather Round is that you can gather all your kids around, like at the table, on a sofa. You can just snuggle up and do school together. They do the lesson with all of the ages at one time. And then they have their own workbooks where they do their own level there. And then, so they kind of cover everything there, and then it's more catered to their grade level in their workbooks. It is truly beautiful, and it's so concise. Like, I love that I can sit down for an hour and read the lesson out loud with them. It usually provokes rabbit trails and everything, where we just kind of dig into a little bit more of whatever this is, because whatever the topic is kind of creates questions, and then we discuss those things. And then within the actual curriculum itself, it has like, usually there's like a little devotional part that we start with, and then we move into the lesson, and then they do their worksheets in their books. Every lesson only has 5 pages in their workbook. So it's not like worksheet heavy or anything. It's not busy work. It's really it is technically like a worksheet, but it's really just a continuation of the lesson. So it's kind of like, instead of listening to a lecture and taking notes, it's kind of already created notes for you that you're just filling in. And that works really great for my kids. We were never really worksheet users. I don't know. We didn't really like worksheets before. So it's, even though it does, I guess technically they are like worksheets, it's not the same as just like printing off stuff and just kind of giving them something to do. And so we have used the I wrote it down because I knew I would forget. American birds, and then we did the Europe unit, we did the space unit, oceans unit, botany, US History 1, Christmas, human body, Easter, and now we're finishing up with entrepreneur. The way that Gather Round works is you have, there's like a topic for each unit study. And so within each unit study, you have all of these things. Like sometimes it's kind of really interesting how the subject really dives into all these other things, and it does tie in still. And one of the things that I love is the way that Rebecca and her team always bring everything back to Jesus. And I just think that's so cool. Like sometimes it just feels wild, like the things that they're able to like go from like here to Jesus. like our kids, it has actually become like a running joke. Like whenever, you know, sometimes it just feels like it just comes out of nowhere. It always does tie in, it does make sense, but it's just like, you think you're talking about this, and all of a sudden we're back to Jesus. And so it's kind of become a running joke where we get to that and you kind of get sideswiped by this, like, oh, that's where we're going with this. And my kids are like, okay, Rebecca, like, I see you. So, yeah, so we love Gather Round. Let me grab some of the books and I'll show you. Okay, so this is our, let me move my cover sheet. So what we do is we get the digital like family pack, and we print it ourselves, and then I get it bound at Staples. So this is the teacher's guide. This one is not as beautiful as some of the other ones, but my other books we have boxed up and put in the attic for now, just because I didn't really have room on my bookshelf. So I put them up there because we're keeping them, but we don't really need them right now. So those are up there. I maybe when school starts, like right before school starts, I may do another homeschool thing, and then I'll make sure that I get those down so that I can actually show you like the covers and stuff. So this is the Entrepreneur, but see how it's like watercolor painted? It's just so pretty, which is not really important, I guess, you know, but I loved it, and it's what initially caught my eye, so I just love it. So in it, just to kind of give you an idea, so we have, like right here, this is a lesson, and it's a few pages, but it's just, I read all the things, like in this, you've got some kingdom-minded business corner, which I loved. And so you go through all these things. On this side is the like family devotional prompt, and then the lesson starts here. And it's a few pages of just the lesson part. It goes through several different things. At the end of the lesson, you have your next steps here, and then you have vocabulary for each reading level or school level that they're at. And then a hands-on activity down here. And then we turn the page, and it has day at a glance. So this is like where the kids will be doing their pages. And so this is like a little like brief paragraph or sentence describing like what each page, what they're going to be doing on each page. And then like what the theme is for each page, I guess. And then down here is your answers. So sometimes you'll have the answers to certain things on their pages so that you can check, or you know, if you're not sure or something, you can always double check it, what they were looking for. But they don't always give you all the answers, because a lot of it is research. So you have, you know, prompts where it's like, hey, do your research on whatever the subject is. They give you a task and then you do research on it, which I find really important because I think it's an extremely important life skill to be able to research, to not just, float through life believing whatever anyone says on any subject whatsoever. It's very important to be able to do your own research to find out really what you believe, or to find what the truth is, because you may hear one thing one place and then something somewhere else. And so I've added in, whenever they're doing research, is to if sometimes it's very clear, like, what date was this? So it's not always like something controversial or something, but whenever we do come across something that is like, well, I don't know about that, and so we'll go and find, I've taught the kids to find opposing articles. One is saying this and the other one is saying that, and then kind of trying to find that middle ground, and trying to find either what is the truth, or sometimes just kind of what you believe. What are your thoughts on this? After seeing both sides, where do you land? Because even in our school, in our homeschool and educating them, I want them to question, to really ask themselves from an early age, like, what do I think? What do I believe? So I love that in the curriculum it kind of opens up different things like that. And it is, like I said, it's inclusive for everything except for math. So you have history, you have literature, you have science. Some units are heavier on science and some units are heavier on history, but like it all balances out from doing the different units. As far as math goes, we have done several things. We've done Singapore math, we've done just Montessori manipulatives and stuff like that. We have done games, math games online, which Gavin really likes. Elle likes it too, but not as much as Gavin did. She is doing Life of Fred now, and she's away babysitting today, so she has her school books with her. So I have an example of a younger age one. There. And it's just a really funny, like, it really lines up with my kids' sense of humor. So this one, like, it's just, you just read through one like chapter every day, and at the end they have your turn to play. In this age they don't have bridges, but in the older books they have what they call a bridge, which is really like a quiz or a test or something. Just if you answer these and then you get so many correct, then you move on to the next lesson. And if you have answered these and you didn't get if you needed to get 3 out of 5 correct and you only got 2 out of 5 correct, then you try again. Like there's a couple of different options to do, so you can like retest yourself. But I appreciate that they don't call it tests, because I know that sometimes when you just call something a test, it makes it feel more like imposing. And so I really like that it's kind of just, it's a game. It's just the bridge to the next chapter, the next section of learning. And so I really like that. For Gavin, we use Wild Math, and he has loved it. We are getting to the end of the levels that they have available, so I'm hoping that she'll make some more as her kids are getting older too. But he loves it. It's always like outside. We have some pebbles that I just got at the Dollar Tree, like black smooth pebble, like rubber stones, and then with a white paint pen I wrote the numbers on them, so like he's doing different things, even at this age, like, when he's doing multiplication and stuff like that, he is, instead of writing it down, where you just put the numbers and, so it's like, it's the same thing, but it just feels a little more interactive. He loves to be outside. He loves nature. He's very hands-on, and he has dyslexia. So writing kind of stresses him out. So if we can find a way to do math or write, like spelling words or something like that, with using something other than writing, then he can focus on the actual learning aspect of it and not be like stressing out about how this letter is supposed to face and stuff like that. So that's why we love Wild Math for him. And eventually we will switch him over to Life of Fred as well, mostly because we're running out of curriculum options on Wild Math. And I think he's ready. So yeah. So the reason that we love these now, in the realm of chronic illness, is because I don't have to do one lesson with Elle and then one lesson with Gavin. I don't have to, we don't have to have all these different books and all these different subjects and I'm having to like keep track of all the things. It's all in one, or two technically because of math. So like this is an example of what their stuff looks like. They have, like, instead of a book bag full of a bunch of books and all the different things, they have, like, this is my teacher's guide, but it's about the same size as their student workbook. So they have their workbook, they have a notebook for math, and then their math book. So this is everything. It's not heavy, it's all in one place. It's easy just to say, okay, let's pull out your books. We have them in a basket and you just pull it out. We sit on the sofa and I just read. And for me, with dealing with aphasia, I have to have like a paper under, like, just like you do with kids who are struggling with things. You have the paper under it, so I just move the paper down with each line that I'm reading. It helps to keep me on the right sentence. And sometimes I will get tired or something and I'll have to take a break. And so if that happens, it's easy just to say, okay, Mom needs a break for a minute. I'm gonna rest and drink my tea or my coffee or whatever, and just kind of like, okay. And they just work in their workbook while I take a minute, and then usually by the time they finish that one worksheet, then I'm like, okay, let's finish. And so I finish reading, but it's not a lot. So it's very doable for me. So honestly, we are in love with Gather Round and Life of Fred and Wild Math. We are not planning to change anything. We're moving into the next school year and we will just keep going with the same curriculum, and that is the first time that we will have ever done that. We always kind of add in something, we'd try something else, it's like, well, I don't know, like, because you're always gauging where your kids are and how they're doing and if this is working. And this is the system for us that has worked. Both of the kids love it. Elle hated school, and now I wouldn't say she loves school. She's just not going to, but she really, she appreciates the way that this one is. She likes how concise it is. She likes that she can kind of get it done and move on with her day. She likes math now since we switched to Life of Fred, and she legitimately hated math. Was like, why do I need this? I hate this. And it was always a struggle. And with Life of Fred, she is like proud now of how she knows how to do things, or something, like she'll, in conversation, something will happen, like we're discussing something, and she'll be like, well, it would be, and like she's thinking through like how you would, what the formula would be and stuff. And it's like, I am so happy. I love seeing that. I love when you see a kid who hated a subject and now they are proud of themselves in that subject. So that to me gets like A+ all the way. So yeah, we love Life of Fred. For Elle, we love Wild Math with Gavin. It's fantastic, especially if you have a kid who has dyslexia. Because of what I was saying, there's less writing and stuff. And then the Gather Round, my kids love it. And for me, with chronic illness, and there are some days where I can't, like, I would not be able to do homeschool outside of this. So my kids love it. I love it. I feel like if it weren't for Gather Round being so simple to do, that I wouldn't be able to continue with homeschooling. There were days that I was in bed and my kids just came and sat on the sides of the bed and I read it, and so we were able to still do school. And sometimes if I was so sick that I couldn't even do that, then it was easy to just let Matt read it. Matt did school with him. And I actually loved those days too, because I would be laying there and I would hear them doing school, and I would hear, them having time with Dad teaching them, which was just really special. So I highly recommend Gather Round if you are new to homeschool and you feel overwhelmed by all of the options, or like how do you choose which one for what subject and stuff. This makes it easy because it's all in one except for the math. And my strong recommendations would be Life of Fred and Wild Math for the math subjects. And if you have chronic illness and you don't think that you're going to have the energy to plan everything out and to carry all the books around and do all the things, Gather Round is amazing for that. That's not how they promote it, obviously, but like I am promoting it in that way. It's fantastic for parents with chronic illness who still feel called to homeschool their kids, whether it's, for whatever reason it is, it is an amazing option. So I highly recommend Gather Round and Life of Fred and Wild Math. So that's what we're using this year, and it's what we will continue with next year. So I hope this gave you some good insight. I hope it gave you some encouragement to try if you've been hesitant to do it, or if you are newly diagnosed with things and trying to figure out like if you can still homeschool and kind of trying to wade those waters. I hope that gave you some peace of mind and some encouragement. So thank you for watching, and I hope you have a really great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.